Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. It has been a hot minute, hasn't it? So this is my first bi-weekly update video, and I'm not sure I like the long gap between. So it's still possible I may go back to weekly updates. I haven't done a weekly update since before Christmas, so there are a lot of books. I may or may not talk about stuff in depth, so let's see where this goes. If you are new here, welcome. I'm glad you are here. I hope you find something you love to read and are excited about. So, I have DNFs, so let's talk about them. First up, and this is a soft DNF. This is not a reflection on the book. This is a reflection of my mood when I picked it up. I will put it back on the shelf to read later. That would be Summer on Honeysuckle Ridge by Debbie Mason. It is chilly here. It was 14 degrees when I woke up this morning. Reading about summer just was not working. So this is a soft DNF for now. It will put it back on my shelf and pick it up later this year. Next up on the DNF was a surprise for me. This was the winner of my last 2x2x2 video of 2023. That was Fatal Mistake by Susan Sleeman. Yeah, so I really hate Insta-love, and I am coming to the realization that I despise characters in romantic suspense that don't have a pre-existing past and connection of some sort, that fall in love during a highly traumatic event. That is not the basis for a relationship that is substantial and has bones. If you fall in love with someone during a traumatic event in your life, is it truly love, or is it what's good for you at the moment? And can't abide it. I can't abide it. So that brings us, I think this is my last DNF for 2023. That was Lost by Gregory Maguire. And I even annotated, took notes. I was 100 odd pages into this. Too many characters. I could care less about anything. There was just too much going on. It was too disjointed, and it was a mess. It was a mess. Maguire's books can be hit or miss, and this was a definite miss for me. It was a definite miss for me. It was a miss. So that brings us to, I think, make sure that's all my DNFs. Yeah, that's all my DNFs. Okay, so let's talk about what I have read since my last weekly update. Let's start off with audiobooks. First was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This was a Libby checkout from the library. It is fantasy. It is cozy fantasy. And it was probably one of the singularly most hyped books of 2023. I don't get it. There was nothing unique about it. It was mundane. It was plotting. It was not an engaging story. Who cares that an orc decided to open a coffee house? And of course, gnomes invented, grinding coffee and coffee pot. It was predictable, and I didn't care. I didn't care. It was not enjoyable. It just really, really wasn't. I really, really didn't enjoy it. Yeah. Hard pass for me. I'm not reading the second one, which is Bookshops and Bone Dust and Bookshops, something like that. I'm done. It was horrible. So next up, an audiobook would be And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This was for the Buzzword Challenge for Layla. It has the word there in it. This is also a locked room cozy, even though the locked room is an entire island. Can't go wrong with an Agatha Christie. And this is just a classic, and it was an enjoyable listen. I listened while I stitched, and it was a great, twisty whodunit, and highly, highly recommend this one. Just do yourself a favor and go pick this one up. Okay, so how about Kindle Unlimited reads? First up would be Dying to Go by Marcy Blessy. Marcy Blessy. Her name's right here. This is the first in the put the title of the series down here. It's a 40, late 30s something woman who goes to Tucson to take care of her parents while her dad has hip surgery. She stumbles across a murder. She solves it in their retirement community. It was charming and sweet. I could easily relate to this. My parents live in a retirement community in a Phoenix suburb, and the characters were easy to recognize from my personal experience, and I will read more in this series. It was fun. It had great dogs. It had great characters. There may have been a swear word or two. There's a hint of romance, but otherwise it was clean, and it was well plotted. It was well paced. Easy recommendation. Next up would be The Pocket Pair by Emma St. Clair. This is book 3 in the Love and She Cake Texas series. This is the story of Chevy and her name escapes Val. And this one was a little slower moving for me, but once it got going, it was fantastic. Just like all of Emma's books, she sucks you in and she brings in characters you know from previous books and builds a much larger world. And I loved the fact that in this book, Val, who's always been the timid one of the group of the trio of friends, stood up for herself and went and did things for herself. And Chevy, her love interest, was completely supportive, and it was just a fantastic read, and I enjoyed it immensely. And then I read Okay. So next up on my Kindle was Ruth's First Christmas Tree by Ellie Griffiths. This was a recent pickup. How did I pick this up? Anyway, I own this one. And it's a novella in the Dr. Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. And it was unnecessary. It really didn't add anything to the overall series. And it wasn't memorable. In fact, I couldn't tell you what happened in it at this point. So I would not recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it either. How's that? Okay, so now for 2 library books. First would be The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. This is obviously a Christmas book, and I loved this one. It was, she gets divorced, she takes all of her settlement money, she buys an abandoned farmhouse in a small town in, I want to say it's Georgia. She starts fixing it up. She finds a Santa suit. There's a long lost letter in there. She tries to discover the writer of the letter. There's a romance. She falls in love with the town. The town falls in love with her. It was just charming and sweet. And I enjoy the romance. I know Amanda found it a little cringy, but it worked for me. It really did. It worked for me. So I enjoyed that one. But then again, I enjoy Mary Kay Andrews in general. So this one lived up to my expectations. The next one was The Cold Light of Morning by, her name is right here. I want to say Elizabeth Duncan, but I'm not sure if that's correct. This is the first in a series. It's set in a small Welsh village. This is a 20-plus-year-old book, maybe. I was thoroughly charmed. The protagonist is a mature woman. She is in her 40s, maybe older. And there's a hint of romance. She lives above her nail salon, and her best friend dies of natural causes. And so she's mourning the loss of her best friend. She befriends one of the wedding guests. The bride goes missing. There's a search for the bride. It's just a great small town read with characters you love. It's the first in a series. I will pick up more at my library. It isn't, it's less than 300 pages, and it was just a good escapist read. And sometimes that's what you need. And there was lots of twists and turns, and there were good clues, and I highly recommend this one. I highly recommend that one. Accidentally skipped a book. I finished That Old Flame of Mine by J.J. Cook. This is the first in her Fire Brigade mystery series. And this was a library book, obviously. Okay, so this, now Felicity is still going to talk, was a charming read. There was some unnecessary mild swearing in here. Didn't think it added anything. There is a ghost in this book, so if ghosts bother you and your mysteries, you don't want to read this series. However, didn't bother me. I enjoyed this. It takes place in a small town in Georgia, Tennessee, and takes place in Tennessee. So if you can handle a ghost who's incredibly friendly and you love Tennessee books, pick this up. It's a great, enjoyable read. Okay, so that brings us to The Last Uncharted Sky by Curtis Craddock. This is the third book in the Risen Kingdom series, and it concludes the trilogy. It was as fabulous as the previous two. So fabulous, the fact that I annotated a book, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. I'm doing more and more, but it does slow down my reading a little bit, but that's okay, because in this instance, like, here's an annotation: persistent theme throughout the series, children taught for their future, not, for the sake of someone else. And I seriously, this whole series was fabulous. If you are looking, this is fantasy, it's secular. If you are looking for a hopeful fantasy series that there are a couple of swear words here and there, is otherwise clean, there's a romance, but nothing happens in it, and it's a romance over 3 books. It isn't a instant love series. This is probably the series for you. It truly is. It is wonderful. So one of the persistent themes throughout this entire series is selfless acts of heroism to save others. And our protagonist is Isabel, and she just embodies that. She really does. This is a fantasy in which war isn't a desired effect. She actually sues for peace repeatedly throughout all 3 books, and she's always willing to give up something for herself to benefit others. And I can't say too much. Obviously, it's the 3rd book, but if you're looking for a flintlock fantasy, swashbuckler adjacent fantasy that's hopeful and peaceful and enchanting, I highly, highly recommend the Risen Kingdom trilogy by Curtis Craddock. These were a library find for me, and I am so thankful I picked them up. I truly am very, very thankful I picked them up. Okay. Checking my list here. Okay. Now we are on to arcs. I think I read these both in this year. So first would be The Library on Love Heart Lane by Christy someone. It's right here. This is, I believe, the 15th book in the series. I enjoyed it. It was it could make its mind up if it wanted to be a clean read or it wanted to be mildly spicy And so it straddled the fence trying to be both, which is its downfall. It wasn't horrible, don't get me wrong. I would read another one in the series. I would read the back catalog. I'd read going forward, no problem. And I love the cover. But this is another example of make up your mind, Decide what lane in which you were going to swim and then swim in that lane. It was irritating. But otherwise, it was great. It was a group of friends. The librarian is the heroine. And there's a mystery and a romance, as possible at the end. And it wasn't bad. It was just a kind of middle of the roader. So that brings us to Double Take by Lynette Eason. This released on the 9th of January. And for both this and the Library at Love Heart Lane, this is my fair and honest review. Double Take is the first book in her Lake City series, and it was a Lynette Eason. What more need I say? It was perfection. It was, tense and suspenseful. Our heroine is a physician's assistant, and the book opens up, and her fiance is trying to kill her, and she kills him and survives. And then that's the prologue. And then chapter 1 is she's in a car accident, and she thinks her dead fiance has come back from the dead to try and kill her again. And a book takes off from there. This was fabulous. There's romance, and our male hero is someone from her past. They have a past. It wasn't an out of the blue trauma response romance, which, as I've discussed earlier in this video, annoys the living crap out of me. This wasn't that. This was well thought out and well planned, and it kept you on the edge of your seat, and I truly loved this book. It was great, like all Lynette Eason books. You can't go wrong. Gentle everyday faith, great suspense, believable romance. If you wanted it, it was there. Yeah, you seriously, you couldn't go wrong. I think I did DNF some marks. If I did, I will put them right here. They're pictures. If not, you won't even see this because I will cut it out of the video. Okay. So that brings us to what I am currently reading, or should have been reading over the last week, but I haven't read anything in a week. Dave and I both got sick. I believe it's allergies. My eyes have felt like they were covered in sandpaper, just gritty and itchy, and I was miserable. Cannot read when, you feel like that. So, sorry I've been a little quiet on book club, getting back in the swing of things. So, let's talk about book club first. As you know, we are currently reading Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. This is fabulous, and I have a thing or two to say. This is not a lighthearted, fluffy read. It is intense and so incredibly well written, and I cannot wait to finish it. I am on chapter 15, so I have, a ways to go. I am loving this. I truly, truly am loving this. This was an excellent pick, ladies, and thank you. This is a tremendous read. I am also currently reading Hope Between the Pages by Pepper Basham with Taylor over at Tales and Treats with Taylor. And I am 100 odd pages in, 120 odd pages into this. This is just fantastic. It is dual timeline, historical romance, and it's set the bookshop and the Biltmore, and I'm learning things about the Biltmore from the book. I'm learning things about the Biltmore from Tay. So this I should finish this week, no problem. You can't go wrong with a Pepper Basham book. And seriously, I haven't gone wrong. Okay, so what else am I reading? As you know, I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo for the next 2 months. I am behind by 120 pages I calculated this morning. So I need to play catch up. But I am currently on page 150. And I am so incredibly pleasantly surprised. It reads more like a modern novel than it does a classic. The reader is immediately drawn in, and it's got political intrigue, and it's got politics and love. It's just a great novel. Take the word classic out of it if you're intimidated by it, especially, not gonna lie, it's a big boy, but it isn't, you're not slogging your way through. It's filled with action, it's filled with intrigue, there's romance, there's, everything. I am so pleasantly surprised. Okay, so other than what I have in process, what am I planning to read? I still have a bunch of books to read this month. I'm obviously going to have some book overflow, which is okay. That is the wrong book. That is the right book. So this is what I have left this month, in addition to what I have in process. Yeah, not going to happen, but that's okay. I am going... Digging Up Daisy by Sherry Lynn is for Katie's challenge, which is something you would pack. And again, there's a red shoe prison right here. And this isn't long, and it's a cozy, and I can easily churn out a cozy. So I should get this done, no problem. And this is in the same series as Hope Between the Pages, but they're all independent. They're in the same series, the series is called Doors to the Past, but the books are all unrelated. So this is The Lady in Residence by Allison Pittman. This one takes place in San Antonio and is a dual timeline. So right next door and right up my alley. And my last big book, other than the Silmarillion, which I haven't even picked up this month. I need to make an effort to pick it up. Is The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. Haven't started it. So we shall see. This video has been very long. I don't know that I like the every 2 weeks. You guys tell me in the comments down below. Do you prefer weekly updates, or do you want a longer, more in-depth review every 2 weeks or so? So let me know and we'll decide going forward. If you haven't joined book club and you're interested, please join the fun. Link are in my socials down below. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.